What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, back at it with another development log. I'm gonna hit this strong with number 4. Month in with no development logs. Poor pacing on my behalf. So, basically, what I want to talk about during this development log is how the game is basically looking right now and some new systems that I've implemented that are really complimentary for this game. It makes it look like, I would say, an entirely different game, basically. So, with that being said, my coworker and I were basically focusing on, different systems. He's focusing on, fleshing out some more passive abilities, loot drop system, then the world map. I'm doing some more enemies, different enemies, some more enemies you'll see from the other development log. Then I'm going to showcase this new system that I've been really pushing for, and obviously some more rework, which I haven't even covered on this channel, for the PCG system, or the world generation system, because technically it's a world generation system as well. So with that being said, I'm just gonna open it up like this. Everything that I'm doing, and it's very important that I get feedback from this, so if y'all have any questions or or want to see something into the game, feel free to leave a comment. That would be awesome, because I want to make a game that's fun for someone just to sit down to play and just to really have a good time with it. You may be having a bad day or something like that, as cringy as it may sound, but you get into the game and you're like, oh my gosh, man, this is good. Maybe a maybe a bullet heavy game, but you know what? They added some twists to the game. So, yeah. But with that being said, let me just take a sip of this little pop I have. Oh, that's some good stuff, man. Always like having a good soda pop when I'm programming. When the old brain gets hot, you just get something to calm it down. So, what I want to talk about is this new system called the objective system. And the objective system is pretty cool because it adds another twist to the game. And you're probably like saying, oh, objective system, what's that? Well, you know what? Little red herring. Because a lot of games, they implement their own version of an objective system, right? And yes, we do have that as well. So, you have hunt this type of enemy, or kill any enemy, or survive, or collect these shards. So yeah, you can see that. But where it really stands out is in this difficulty right here. So this is how I'm separating what other games have and then what we have as well. And you're probably like, oh yeah, well, you know what? Why are you even focusing on what other games have? Because you can actually combine the two. So it's like an absolute bullet heaven game. So anyway, here's basically what makes this game different. So there's what's called twist objectives, and I've implemented 16 twist objectives currently, and each twist objective does something a little bit differently. Now obviously the list that we have in here may not all of them may make it to production, or we'll have some different ones. It all depends. But with that being said, these twist objectives, basically, they give the player different stimulation. So this one, you have to hold basically the fort and make sure enemies don't cross this line for X amount of seconds. This one, which is really cool, I like it, um, there's this sentinel that tries to wander through this fog, and he has a vision in a cone, and you have to stay out of this cone while battling enemies. And if you get in the cone, you're dealing tick damage, and then he finds you. I'll do a little run of them, and then you have all of these other objectives. It's probably not a good idea just to talk about this because I'm wasting a lot of time. So I'll just get right into it, basically. So, once again, entering the world map. The idea for the world map is, everything will be much more fleshed out. But then you'll have these areas that you can go to. You'll have your own little spaceship or whatever we decide to implement at the end of the day. You can zoom in and out and focus on going to your own location. So right now I'm going to do difficulty medium because that's how I need to test my stuff out. And basically, while that's loading, I have that hold the line objective first. I got no music in it this time, so you won't hear me try to speak above the music. I turned that off just for the time being. So first thing that you can see is that the PCG system and the world generation system look really entirely different from what you're used to seeing. That is because I've done a massive refactor on it, and it's really dope. I'm not going to go into the entirety of it at the end of the day. Oh my goodness. So this is the first objective where you have to hold this line. And I don't know what's over there. I probably messed up with the target component. I'm going to lose the game. Yeah, I lost the game, unfortunately. So I gotta take that objective out just for the time being. Because they're all trying to go to that target component. And my offset was a little bit different. So instead of that, I'm gonna just move your boy down to here. So that way I can showcase the other objectives. But what I decided to do differently on the world generation system is before, it was just a simple texture for each biome. And yeah, that would have been good, but when you're playing a game, you want some polish, and you want something that's nice to really look at. And plus, this system, not only just for cosmetics, which wasn't the main driver for the completion of it, it was, okay, I want to have different areas. In these different areas inside this, this biome can do certain things. They can, include or exclude these meshes, these POIs. So right now, this is the Watcher's Gaze, and I may go a little bit too deep with this on the fog, but you can see how the Sentinel, he knows where the player is because the player technically makes noise when they walk, but he's trying to figure out, where is he exactly? And so you got to avoid this gaze because right now I made its damage a little too high. And I don't want to get in there. I'll get in there in the last couple of seconds just to show you. But you can see how he's basically killing the enemies with his watch. So if I go into here, you can see how I'm ticking down. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness. So these are basically pillars that you have to destroy. They wander around in their little zone, but they increase the spawn rate of the enemies. I can actually add the enemies to spawn inside these pillar zones, which I think I would do. And then I forget this objective. What was this objective? Oh yeah, this objective was the mall. So this mall is like a huge black hole, and I won't be able to really show it to you. Oh my goodness, I'm dead. I won't really be able to show it to you until, you know, a couple seconds left, because this is the pulling ring. And how the black hole works is this pulling ring will be smaller, but basically, this black hole will follow you for X amount of seconds. It'll pull enemies in. It actually pulls the player in too, as you can see. I can't get out, but I don't want to get tick damage. Which is pretty cool. Then this objective is stoking the forge, so I have a mission to stoke this forge 3 times, as you can see here. Stoking the forge. Next objective is this cart caravan, where you have to basically, you have to, oh my gosh, I'm at 8.5 health. Escort this caravan. And the twist is, the caravan's got its own target component on it too, so enemies can actually target the caravan. Which kind of sucks, but it's pretty interesting, so that way you have to protect the caravan. Next objective is this fog wall, where you only have a limited range of vision, and it's up to you to survive. I go pretty light with this, but my next objective that I like is coming up in 2 more objectives, so which is pretty cool. You can see I mess with the enemy spawn rate, the spawn direction, and all of that other fancy jazz. I'm trying to purposely not level up because I made these bands pretty strong. As you can see, I have this one type of enemy called stalkers. They find ways to pounce at you, basically. So these are rifts that you have to destroy, which are pretty cool, because they influence the spawn of enemies as well. So I hit that, and then here, this is pretty cool right here. This is my favorite objective. This is called Blackout. And this objective, basically, you tie your visibility to your kill streak. So, if you're dealing damage and killing the enemies, your vision will expand. But if you're not, your vision will constrict to be extremely small. Which obviously is a disservice to you. Because if you're one of the players who like to run away all the time, this will be your demise. So yeah, this mode's called Blackout, which is really cool. And I'm about to die. So, another objective, which basically enemies have iron hides, and their health is increased 10 times. So, it's up to you to basically kill 6 of them. Obviously, the game's not balanced, so it's pretty easy for me to kill them. But, y'all, in the future, it won't be easy for you to kill them. And obviously I have to deal with that. So now I spawn 3 elite enemies, and the elite enemies are still in their prototyping phase, so they don't really deal any damage. But these enemies were in the packaged test. So basically, inside this radius, they heal based upon the killed enemies. So they take a portion of the killed enemy's life, and they heal themselves. Which is really cool, I like them. I always gotta watch out for these suicide bombers, because they'll just try to go in and just kamikaze me. Yep. Boom. And I'm not about to die! Okay, so then, yeah, this is just a regular type of enemies, and I'm dead. So, yeah, that's the objective system right now. One thing I am going to also say is we do have something coming for per biome. Each biome will get its own little quirk. Along from, you know, saying, hey, look, which enemies can spawn here. These enemies can spawn in these biomes. They'll have their own special effects too. So if you're in the tundra biome, maybe the player will move slower, and you'll see this cool frost effect on your lens. Like a forest biome, that fog wall, you'll have fog, but your vision will be a little bit further out, and the fog will be less dense. which is pretty cool. Um, oh, yeah. So the one thing that I did want to go over is this PCG system, um, which is really cool. So I'm just going to go over this very briefly because this is 15 minutes long and I'm already over my quota. So the world generation system, I believe I nailed it to be in a good spot. I just have to work with the path right now. So anyway, as I've stated, I have two biomes currently. I have the forest biome and I have the tundra biome. And I have different POIs that I can put in them as well. And basically, how it works is I had to do a lot of research on this because this was a pain in the butt to make. And I do a lot of talking with some AI and just looking at all of these different resources on what other people did. Basically, I had to use a combination of distortion algorithms to blend a subset of textures based upon their weights. And I can use that to say, hey, look, based upon these preset patch areas, right, we'll have these textures being associated with these patches. And these patches can control certain foliage from spawning, which is good because, you know, you don't want a tree spawning where the houses are, right? It just doesn't make sense. Or trees spawning in, hey, like if you have just a pure dirt area or a little graze, you don't want that. So this is what I've got currently, and it looks really good, to be honest. I think I did a really good job. And so a little bit of the quirks of it. Obviously, this is the tundra biome. You can't really see anything because my textures are quite close together. But rest assured, there is some blending. I have to fix it a little bit. But it's in a good state that I can back off of it for a little bit. But how it works a little bit, without getting too in detail, is I have this biome layers texture array. And this was my first time technically messing with textures arrays because I normally don't touch texture arrays. So anyway, we have to have something that inside the material, if I were to show you, yeah, this is it right here. With all of our biomes, this is what it was starting to look like. 3 different custom nodes, right? And if we were to add another biome, I obviously would have needed to add it into here. And then if we were to add multiple different textures, this would be one huge custom node with just different blending. And it's like, that's not scalable and that's not efficient. So I had to take a nuke and I had to nuke this, which means I can't define how I want my textures to really look with all of this fine control anymore. And everything basically goes into this one little shader that, you know, I was working with AI and making, and, you know, we both, you know, we came up with, you know, this expandable subset of, you know, inputs that no matter how many biomes we expand to and how many textures we expand to, everything in here stays the same, and we don't have to worry about any of it, which is good. So bad thing is it, yeah, you know, it's quite complex. I mean, you see the instruction count on the pixel shader, and that's because we're using a lot of different render targets, really. But, you know, upside, it's only generated once. and it's on a half K by half K map, which I think that's where we're going to keep our playable area to. This is quite a big playable area in comparison to other bullet heaven games. We technically have the capability to do 2K, 1K, even 4K. Hell, if you want to sit through like, I don't know, 30 seconds of loading. But basically what it does is, and I really don't want to get into detail because that's not why we're here, is all of the probably, I'm just going to explain this really high level. If we want to add another biome layer, we keep this here. We have to make sure that we add this in a correct index. That later, we need to map these to gameplay tags, and the only out-of-the-box way that we can do that is by indice. So, you know, this would be the grass texture. And how we do that is, if we go into our datasets, we have this ground library. And this ground library basically maps everything to index. So you need to make sure that, hey, you know, whatever index you're sticking at, you need to make sure that you have a ground layer that's associated to it. And what we can do is that we can use those ground layers to further expand our biome definitions. So this is basically the configuration for the biome itself. It basically defines biome patches, you know, what things can spawn, different weights, different contexts, a lot of stuff that the biome can support, basically. And if we want, like, for POIs and stuff like that, every map gets a recipe, and the recipes basically have all of the POIs contained on them that we can spawn. And, you know, we can have different rarities and all of that stuff. And how we actually control, hey, like, which POI spawns and whatever is, you know, inside their own little configuration file. So we can do the, you know, the tiers, how many of them spawn, different variations of which they spawn, the constraints, so which patches they can spawn in, or, you know, the minimum spacing between the POIs of X POI of X type, or just generic POIs, patch affinity, so which patches they can spawn into, which biomes they can spawn into. So yeah, a lot of control that we have, but this is basically like the meat and potatoes of that PCG system that I was talking about. But anyway, with the event system, I'm working on just, you know, basically just polishing up some actors right now. I have some enemies that I have to deal with, but I think, you know, it's coming along pretty well. Can't wait to see what the game will look like in another month, even though that's like right around the corner. It's already the 9th. So yeah, I'm really excited for the game. I hope you guys like this little development log. Been back at it again. So yeah. Peace, everybody.